everyone. Today I have decided that I'm going to attempt to do a 24-hour readathon, and I'm going to do the timer method. So first thing I need to do is make a timer, have my timer ready, and it's currently 6:43 p.m. but I'm hoping if I start reading at night then I won't get so tired, and hopefully I can read for 24 hours straight. But we will see. I'm definitely going to give it my best shot. But I am making dinner and I thought it would be a great time to read a little bit, and I'm currently 54% of the way through Watch Me. There it goes. Hoping to finish this tonight because I actually have this on loan from the library and I think I need to return it tomorrow, so I want to finish that tonight. And then I'm, 115 pages into reading Reckless. So I have 2 books I'm in the middle of right now and a lot of books I really want to get to, but I figure what better time to start reading than the present. So that's my plans. I'm gonna get started reading, cook my dinner, and update you in a minute. Okay, sorry if this angle is terrible. I thought I would update you that I have pretty much 22 hours left and I just finished reading Watch Me, which this is a series. I assume it's going to be a series that comes after Shatter Me. As you know, I have been reading the Shatter Me series for months. That series is no joke. It gives me like City of Bones vibes, that series, how it just has a million books, which I kind of like. Sometimes it felt like the books weren't coming to an end. So I hope that this new series doesn't feel like that. I also forgot to mention it is 11, 13, 14, and I am pretty tired. I usually go to bed around 10 o'clock, so it's past my bedtime. I'm feeling a little bit tired, so I know this is dangerous, but I think I'm going to lay down and read some more on my Kindle. I think I'm gonna pick up Golden Sun, which is the second book in the Red Rising series, just because I really prefer to read on my Kindle at night rather than a physical copy of a book. But that's what I have on my Kindle. I have Golden Sun, and I also have The God of the Woods on my Kindle that I have been meaning to get to, but with how much time is still left on the timer, I definitely could get to another book at least. But I just thought I would update you that I have finished 1 book already, and I really like the characters in this one. The only thing that I would say about Watch Me that I didn't particularly find to be my favorite is that while there was a lot that happened in the story, it definitely did a lot of world building and catching you up from the Shatter Me series, which is fine, but I guess I just wish that the book had gotten a little bit farther along in the plot line that you can kind of see is going to play out over the course of a few books. Especially the book was about 350 pages, so I definitely think that if the book was a little bit longer, maybe we could have gotten a little farther in the plot. In Watch Me, it is 10 years later, and James, he infiltrates this island that the reestablishment still has under control, and he gets there and there's this girl Rosabelle, and she works for the reestablishment and she is part of like a larger plan. It is very interesting. I did like the plot of this one a lot. I'm not sure what I would rate it. I feel like I have to think about it a little bit longer. I did like it, and I thought that the chapters were very engaging, and I didn't want to put it down. I just wanted to keep flipping through and reading it because to me, the author writes she just does a really good job of keeping you entertained the entire time you're reading. Especially, I love to see the characters from the first series. I think I'm going to pick up Golden Sun now. I'm 18% of the way through. That's about 73 pages. And so far with Golden Sun, I'm having a hard time keeping my interest. I definitely liked Red Rising a lot more than Golden Sun so far, but I did kind of think that Red Rising was off to a slow start too. So maybe I will feel differently if I keep reading. But I will say, I didn't feel like I read Red Rising that long ago. I think I read it in March. And I have forgotten a little bit because I can't place all of these characters that are in the second book. So if I could go back, I don't think I would take a break. After reading Red Rising, I think I would just jump straight into Golden Sun while everything was fresh, because I'm trying to play catch up right now and I'm having kind of a hard time. But hopefully, if I keep reading, I will get a little bit of a refresher. It is 12:30 and I am 19 and a half hours left. So I'm 4.5 hours into this challenge and I have to update you what I've been doing all morning and about last night. I was reading Golden Sun, and if you are familiar with the series, it can be kind of hard to read at some points. It definitely is just not a very easy book to get through, so I did fall asleep last night. And I woke up this morning. I did stay up a lot longer than I thought I would. I stayed up till midnight, but I got to that point where you're falling asleep, like holding the book. So I decided to quit reading for the night, which means I have a lot of reading to do today and through the night if I want to get this challenge done. But all morning I have been reading Golden Sun. I'm 38% of the way through, and that is 163 pages. But I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break from reading that because it is, like I said, a tougher read, and I feel like I need to give my brain a little bit of a break, which you might not think this book would be a break, but this is a reread, so it does feel a little bit like a break. But I'm going to get into Reckless for a while and keep going through this challenge and making good progress. I will say, if it wasn't for this challenge, I would not have gotten so far into Golden Sun as I have. I do have the physical copy of this one, so I might pick it up just because I said earlier, I find it a lot more satisfying to flip through pages when I'm doing this type of challenges, just because the Kindle can kind of feel like a never-ending book. Sometimes picking up the physical copy actually helps me read more because I can have a tangible measure of my progress. Yeah, that is my plans. I've also, like when I got ready this morning, I listened to the audiobook of Golden Sun, but on Spotify, I'm almost out of hours. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do once I run out of hours, because I definitely like listening to audiobooks sometimes when I'm doing these type of challenges, just so I can get other things done. So I definitely don't think that there will be much audiobook listening for the rest of this challenge. But that's okay because I can read faster than an audiobook. If I just sit down and read, I could make a lot more progress than listening. hope you can ignore this really orange lighting, but it is 11:46 and I have 17 hours left. And it has been more than 24 hours since I've started this challenge, but I was going strong all day until about 4 o'clock when I started hanging out with my boyfriend, and for the past couple of hours I have been playing the game Overcooked, which I got yesterday and I'm obsessed, to say the least. Especially, I really like the, what is it called, where you go online and you can play with other people. But yeah, I am a little bit embarrassed to admit how much I like that game and how much I want to play it. But I'm getting kind of tired, and I've already put off reading for the last couple of hours, and it's just not what I want to be doing. I really can't believe I still have 17 hours left of this challenge. And I'm out of audiobook hours, so I think that's why I'm like stalling even more, because I actually have to sit down and read, which I did do a lot today, probably at least 3 hours today. But I thought I would update you. I'm 293 pages into Reckless and 170 pages into Golden Sun, which is 39% of the way through, and I'm almost done with Reckless, if you can see. So I'm not sure what I'm going to pick up next. I really like Reckless. The only thing I don't really like is that it kind of feels like nothing happens in this book. But I do really like the characters and the story in this one. Versus Golden Sun, I am going into it kind of blind since I don't know what happens. It takes a lot of brain power to read Golden Sun. But I think I'm gonna start getting ready for bed and keep reading Golden Sun while I do that until I get pretty tired, and then I'm gonna pick up Reckless. But hopefully I don't fall asleep right away and I can get a good chunk of the way through my timer, because the goal is to finish this tomorrow, and that is gonna happen. I'm finishing this timer tomorrow, but that means I definitely have to read a lot more than I have been. I was doing so good, and then that game. It's so good. Why did I not know it was out there this whole time? That's why I haven't read in a while, but I'm going to get back into it right now. I literally think I was sitting here last night, the last time I updated you, but it's another day that I did not finish my reading. I was surprised. 11 hours and 45 minutes left. It's also 11:30 at night, but I do have a lot of updates. First, I did finish Reckless today. I ended up really liking this one. Again, I liked it the first time I read it. Even though nothing really happens, I'm kind of a sucker for characters. So if I really like the characters, then most of the time it's okay if they don't get much done. And then I'm actually 70% of the way through Golden Sun. I'm on page 311. And I'm gonna be honest, this book is going on forever, and there are parts of it where I've been reading it and it's not sticking in my brain. And I don't know if that's because I've been reading so much today, but I'm having a really hard time reading this book. I wanted to finish this challenge today, but it is really, really hard to set aside the time to read. I feel like I read so much today, but unless you, even if you, like, I would have to read throughout the entire night. I felt like I read so much, but the timer is clearly disagreeing with me. Get ready for bed, read a little bit more, and hopefully tomorrow will be the day I actually finish this challenge. It is harder than it might seem to read for 24 hours straight. I'm going to keep pushing through because I've already finished 2 books. I'm almost done with the 3rd one, and I definitely think I could finish at least 1 more before my timer is up. So that is what I'm going to keep on doing, and hopefully tomorrow is the day. Okay, it has been a very long time since I last talked to you, but every day I have been working on my timer, and I finally finished reading for 24 hours. And every time I do one of these challenges, it really puts into perspective how long 24 hours really is, and that it is really easy to get distracted from reading and to not complete 24 hours in a reasonable amount of time. But now that I finally finished reading, I can honestly say that I probably don't read 24 hours worth every week just because of how many books I managed to get to in that time. I probably only read 1 or 2 books a week, and I'm gonna be honest, it did take me a week, and in that time I read 5 books. Took me a week to read 24 hours, but I'm hoping that the next time I try to do a challenge like this, I will be a little bit more successful because I definitely wanted to finish this challenge, but it is just kind of hard to put the time aside every single day to read, but I did end up doing it. So I thought I would go through the books I read, how I felt, and my ratings. And I'm pretty sure that the first book I finished was Watch Me, which is a new book in the Shatter Me world, and I gave it 4 stars because I really actually ended up liking that book, and I thought the characters were different from the original characters, and I liked that. But I did really end up liking Watch Me, and I can't wait for the next book to come out in the series because I really ended up liking it. I think it is one of my favorites from that author. Then I ended up rereading Reckless, which I gave 5 stars. I love these characters, and I actually ended up really liking this book the second time I read it versus the first time. Very happy I read this one, which this is the second book in the Powerless trilogy. And even though not much happens, I really just love the characters, so I love to see anything more about the 2 of them. Then I read Golden Sun by Pierce Brown, which I'm not sure if I told you, but this one, Darrow is done with the Institute, and he is just trying to figure out like where he fits in with the resistance, with the world he's in, and with his friends. So I did like how the relationships evolved a lot in this book, and Darrow was not very likable in this book, but I felt like he had a lot of natural consequences because of that, because of the way he behaved. But I'm curious to see how he ends up acting in the next book, because I feel like he learned a lot in this one. The only thing I would say is that this one was very long, and it took me forever to get through. And while I did end up liking it and giving it 3 stars, it was just not the book to pick up during a challenge because of how kind of difficult, and it really puts your brain to use to read this one. So I had a little bit of a hard time getting through it, but I did like it. I didn't nearly like it enough as much as I did Red Rising, but I did still like it. But Red Rising, I feel like, just has a special place in my heart with how much I liked it. The next book I ended up reading, I listened to on an audiobook and read a bunch, was Guild. And this book is about Orin. She is kept in a cage by the king. He will not let her out, and there's a lot more to the story than I feel like we get in this one. We just get little bits and pieces that there is going to be a lot more to the story, but I gave it 3 stars. But I'm going to be honest, when I first started reading this book, I almost put it down in the end after it because I was not prepared for the subject matter and the language that is used, especially in the beginning. I feel like it tames down a little bit, not very much, just in like the frequency, but in the beginning of Guild, it is very, very intense, and I wasn't prepared, and so I almost DNF'd it because of that, because it's just not my favorite when language like that is used. But I did really like the plot and how the author writes the story, and I feel like the rest of the series will be very interesting. The beginning of this one was a little bit of a struggle for me to get through because I wasn't prepared. So if you were going to read Guild, I would look up like the trigger warnings and just the age rating, because I would definitely say it is kind of important. Especially if I had known that, I feel like I would have liked it a lot more. I think I just forgot that Guild is like that, so I was caught off guard. But I did still like the plot, so I will be reading the next one, and hopefully I like it a little bit more than now that I'm prepared of what it's about. The last book I ended up reading was The God of the Woods, which is about a summer camp in the 70s, and it follows 2 cases of kids gone missing, one from 10 years prior and one in the 70s, and there's a lot of split timelines and a lot about the investigations of both cases. I ended up giving this book 2 stars because I felt like the book was very intentionally misleading. Anyway, I just feel like the information we got throughout the entire book was intentionally misleading to put you off the right track of where the book was ending, but I didn't really like that. I think there were just a little too many of those twists and turns, and I really did not like the ending. I just don't think it was very realistic and believable, and I thought that there was going to be a much better turn of events than how it ended, and yeah, I just don't think that was a very believable ending. Besides those, I did think that I was super curious to see what happened next. I didn't like that there were so many different characters' POVs, and when I first started reading the book, I was a little bit confused because of all the characters that got introduced right away. I did like how all of the characters were interconnected in different ways and fit together to make this very intricate story that connected both cases. So for those reasons, I did like it. And for the other reasons why I didn't like it, that's why I gave it 2 stars. It is just kind of like a mystery thriller, but I definitely thought there was going to be a little bit more to it than there was. I mean, the story was good. I kind of feel like that a lot with mystery kind of books, that it has to be really exceptional for me to love it. I did like it, and I did end up reading a good majority of it in 2 sittings. That is a good sign. It is interesting, but just had some points that I didn't love, but it is still a good book. With all that being said, I am so happy to be done with my 24-hour reading challenge, and I'm going to take a little bit of a break from reading because I have read a ton in the last week, and while I am happy about that, I feel like I need to take a little bit of a break I did really enjoy a lot of the books I ended up reading, and I got to a bunch that were on my TBR. I think that's all I have to say. But if you made it this far, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again real soon. Bye.